Hey everyone, welcome to the Mayor's Table. On today's episode, we're going to be digging into something that's very important, I think, to all of us, and that is the future of our children in our community. Childhaven's been around since 1969, and today we have two representatives of that great agency talking about everything that they're doing, because it's not just a children's shelter. They do so much more, and today's episode will be impactful. We hope that you love it, and we hope that you do something to support our kids. Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Mayor's Table. Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett here with you today with two special guests, first-time guests to our show. Very excited to speak with them. CEO of Childhaven, Erin Hourihan. Thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Excited, yeah. This is the first time, so it's going to be a good conversation. And the Development Director for the Childhaven Foundation, Jennifer Gray.
Yes.
Also a CASA volunteer.
That's correct.
Which we're going to get into CASA, because CASA is a pretty important program that I think more people need to know about. So thank you for both being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. Childhaven has a special relationship with the city of Farmington. We do a lot of work together, so to speak, especially when it comes to our law enforcement side of things. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity for people to become more aware and educated on all the different things Childhaven does, because as Jennifer and I were talking prior to coming on the air, many people just think it's a children's shelter. So it's a lot more than that. So this will be a really good conversation. But first, I'd just like to kind of get in and get to know you both a little bit. Erin, you're the CEO, and how long have you been with Childhaven? And
I believe this is my 29th year.
My goodness.
Came in 1996, and at that point, we had just started one of our programs, the treatment foster care program. It was just beginning, and the shelter had been around for many years, and I had come from Boulder, Colorado after overseeing at a YMCA their children's programming for school year and summer camps. And so it was really quite a exciting challenge for me to kind of switch over to the child abuse aspect of working with children with special needs. And so it was something that I had always wanted to do, and just a great place to be able to work.
Yeah, 29 years. You've had to have seen a lot of changes, but a lot of cases of children who have been in very dire situations. And I just want to tell you thank you. I admire individuals who have that type of character and ability to handle those situations in a professional manner, and I honestly don't know how you do that. But for 29 years, that's incredible.
Yeah, well, each year poses new challenges. This year we have lots of federal funding challenges. Every year it seems like there's something new, and so it certainly is not a job where I feel like after 29 years I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So that's what I think keeps me excited and challenged and ready to go each day.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the cases and some of the details of those that I'm sure Jennifer has seen through her CASA case. I think that's the hardest part for the frontline staff. Some of us in more administrative roles, hiring the staff, we're somewhat shielded
Sure.
From the day-to-day, and so we really have to look at the wellness of our staff, make sure that they're taking time off, that they're able to just have a good wellness routine within their days and weeks, and just really look out for them. It's been tough for the last 5 years since COVID, I would say. The hiring market has been super tough.
Yeah.
And so just trying to cover all the shifts, that's been a lot of the HR director as well as myself, just trying to keep staffed.
Yeah.
and spend those grant dollars that we do have. Most of them are for our personnel. Our budget's about $3.5 million each year to run all 5 of the different programs that we have.
Interesting. We'll dig into those programs here too. So, Jennifer, you play a dual role because you're also a volunteer with CASA, but you are the individual, as I have known former development directors for the foundation. You're out there. Are you trying to raise money? Is that kind of what you're doing?
Yes, definitely the fundraisers and the events. Also working on marketing initiatives, recruitment especially, for various programs. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your history with the agency.
I started as a CASA volunteer about 18 months ago.
Okay.
I was a child in the system. I was adopted and a foster child at one point many, many years ago and was in a different state, but I was lost in the system. And when I moved here to Farmington, I saw a flyer on a bulletin board saying become a CASA volunteer, and I read about it and I was like, this is something that I should do. This is time for me to just get involved. And then as a CASA volunteer, I learned a lot about Childhaven, and then this position opened up and it was just the perfect fit for me.
Well, that's great. Well, you have that firsthand experience of being in the system and understanding what those kids are going through. My parents were foster parents when I must have been 8 or 9 years old for a few years, and so I remember those little brothers and sisters that came through the house, and it was very unique experience to be a part of that. But I know it takes special people again to open up their home, and you're changing your lifestyle, to bring these kids in, and so thank you for that. Thank you for volunteering, and kind of wanted to use part of this episode just to encourage folks to read more about how they can get involved. And I think as a CASA volunteer is a great example. Well, the CASA program, so I may have just misspoke. CASA is different than the foster program, correct?
Correct.
So CASA is the court
court-appointed special advocates.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was going down the wrong path there, and I'm glad we corrected that. But yeah, that is an interesting role, and I want to learn more about that. But I want to use this show as a chance for folks to see the need, and how they can give of themselves for these kids, because it's a really important part. I've had a lot of conversations recently with individuals talking about our education system and the challenges that we're facing, and I could just continue to go back. It starts in the home, and when these kids are coming from places that they don't have stability and they're not nurtured in a way that makes education a priority, be a problem. And unfortunately, when we find these kids in this situation, it becomes even more.
We do see that at the shelter when the children come in, and one of the first things we're required to do is within 14 days the children and the teens have to be enrolled in school. Sometimes that can be a huge challenge because sometimes they've lapsed in their education. It hasn't been a priority for the family. Sometimes they're dealing with substance abuse issues, homelessness, and so sometimes school is just not the top thing. But it's amazing what a good foster home can do as far as being able to just set down a schedule and really help nurture those children and meet with the teachers, talk about what are the educational lapses, and try to get those individual educational plans going. And it's amazing. Oftentimes we'll have the teachers reach out to the shelter staff when they're picking them up each day after school and just say how much progress the kids have made, even being in a shelter. So you wouldn't think of a shelter necessarily as a super stable home environment, but we do try to do our best to make it as homey as possible and really make sure that the kids are getting everything they need. The community is a big part of that. They bring by their children's old clothes and we wash them. Night shift staff are busy doing that. We're able to give the kids everything that they need to be able to go to school and have 3 hot meals from the cook, and really just hopefully feel comfortable where they are. And that's when I think the learning and the education can begin. So it is amazing. I think that's one of the highlights of the work that I get to see is sometimes I'll meet the children on the first couple days and they might be very reserved, but then within a few weeks you see just a complete shift. And
Absolutely.
it certainly makes my day. I can go back to my office and deal with all the paperwork and the phone calls and everything else. And
the routine of the shelter is really big for a lot of the kids who they never knew what to expect at home. You know, sometimes there was, violence in the home, or they didn't have regular meals. And having that set routine in the shelter when they know when everything is going to happen, it really helps them become more calm and more settled. So then you see that they're able to sit down and focus on their homework. And I've seen the same in our foster homes. A lot of the foster parents have said that when the children come into their home, they don't necessarily know basic manners. They don't understand that you can't just get up from the dinner table and run away. You have to pick up your plate. We have to ask to be excused. Then you pick up your plate, and then you put your plate in the sink. So sometimes it's going back to teaching those basic manners, but also teaching just basic social skills, but then giving them the opportunity to learn about healthy family dynamics and how to set boundaries, just personal space boundaries. So
It's just very...
it's amazing to see the changes.
When you talk about the need for routine and you just think about every season of life that we've been through and how important routines are in order to build upon them, in order to go out in the world and actually face the world. And I used to teach a daddy boot camp for new dads.
Yes.
My wife's a labor delivery nurse, and so I got involved in this early when we moved back here. And that was one of my key points for the fathers was, look, those babies need routines. If you want to get a calm baby at night and develop a great sleep pattern, then you've got to create that pattern. You have to set the bar. And so it's just, I'm just thinking about that. It's true. It's and children who haven't had it and have just lived through chaos, not knowing what's going to come from one day to the next. It's very difficult to focus. It's because you don't know, and very difficult to set time and learn all those things that you need to learn when they're sponges, and that's what because they're learning the wrong things, you know? Well, very interesting. We just kind of went off there, but let's talk a little bit about the emergency shelter. I mean, how many kids are we seeing through the shelter on an average week or a year? I don't know how we gauge those things. And
Sure. Well, it has been reduced with the Families First Prevention Act, a federal act. It is a first priority to try to place children directly into foster homes. And that is why we're trying to recruit so many more homes lately. So we typically are the second choice, say, for a child protection worker. When they're looking for placement, they're going to look first for next of kin if they can't go back home. And so the shelter is sort of the next best option. So we used to see maybe closer to 300 children per year go through the shelter. We probably have 75 on average right now.
Okay.
Probably in the last, I'd say, 6 years or so. The lengths of stay, however, can be much longer.
Okay.
And so it's really the nights of care that we're looking at overall. And so that's around 3,000 nights of care, approximately the same in our foster care program as well. And it fluctuates, though. We will have some days that the kids will all be released and go back to different more permanent placements, and then we'll just get a call, and like on Friday night it was 3 siblings. And so we've just always got to be ready, almost like law enforcement and the way fire department, everybody's just ready to go.
Yeah.
You've got to have the food there, the staff there, and so it's a little hard. We do have a lot of part-time people to kind of flex their hours with sort of the basic mainstay at the shelter of just the certain number of full-time positions so that we can just try to maintain our budget and utilize people closer to full-time when the census numbers are higher.
How many different agencies here? I mean, obviously Farmington PD, but there's Bloomfield and Aztec and County. You're doing all of that, correct?
Right, as well as working with Navajo Nation, criminal investigators, the FBI as well. Typically, they are in charge of those cases on tribal land for children 12 and under, and they work alongside the criminal investigators there. So we have social workers that are commuting 2 to 4 hours sometimes from different areas across Navajo Nation. We also have children from other tribes that if there's no place to place them, they'll commute to bring them to our shelter as well. So it really is more like the northwest corner, I would say, of
Does it leak over into Colorado?
Colorado seems to have their own system, so we
Okay.
have less Colorado children, but more Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and certainly as well throughout New Mexico we're the largest shelter, so we have 32 beds.
Oh, wow.
And we can place children from newborns all the way up till the time they turn 18. And so that's unique. And so the original board members who were here were able to sort of have that foresight of what is the need, I think, because we span so many different lands here, different tribal nations, as well as children that would be under the custody of the state of New Mexico. We have just a greater potential for larger numbers of kids. So back probably in around 2008, 2009, we had nights where all 32 beds were full, and we would have to call and get approval from our license to have a waiver to be able to take kids and pull out the trundle beds and extra cots so that we could get everybody into a spot. So yeah, so it really just kind of changes with just what's happening in the area. So certainly with pending possibility of Medicaid cuts and how that might affect families, how that might affect people's stress level, the use of alcohol, I think, goes up, and so drug abuse. And so, yeah, we're just kind of bracing ourselves for what could be coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the alcohol part of it is such a problem here. You know, we talk about it all the time, and it's interesting when you talk to law enforcement professionals who've maybe moved here from other agencies or other states, where they're like, we've never seen this type of abuse of alcohol. We've seen other abuses that are higher in those places, but alcohol here is, and unfortunately the state puts it in every convenience store, so, you know, which is mind-boggling to me. I don't get it, but Jennifer, you were saying something. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to say our shelter is very unique in the fact that we accept such a wide age range of children.
Right.
That allows sibling groups to stay together, whereas in other areas they would have to be divided up based on age. And it's really important for the siblings to stay together at this point in time. It's very traumatic for them, and they need each other as those sources of support. We also do accept private placements for our shelter. So if there are people in the community who need to go in for, let's say they need to have, inpatient mental health treatment, they can call us and we can discuss the possibility of keeping the children at our shelter.
Wow.
It would be for people who have domestic violence issues in their home or homelessness. So we are a resource for just people in the community.
I did not know that. I didn't know we did that.
Right. Sometimes with the 30-day programs for substance abuse as well, we've had people call and say, I just don't have anybody that I know and trust in this area to take care of my kids. So there's a clause within our contract with the state of New Mexico that helps pay for the majority of the shelter. I'd say probably about 75% of the funding, and that allows for kids that are at risk. And so that would be that portion of it, because we have heard of some really tenuous situations where people must go in for some type of treatment, and they are placing them with the trailer 5 doors down who they don't really even know. And so that's very scary.
Very scary. Well, I'm really glad we talked about that. And that's good information for people to have out there. Are there other shelters here in the area, or are we the only one? Is Childhaven the only one?
There are others. So with the complex up on Andrea Drive, there's on one side of the building we have a residential treatment center, and on the other side a shelter for typically it's 12 to 17-year-olds. Sometimes that shelter may take more of the juvenile justice involved youth, and we kind of focus more on the younger and larger sibling groups. That way we can kind of span the ages.
Okay.
And so, but we're kind of the main two with the help as well. If there sometimes are no spots or final permanent placements for some of the children, the Four Corners Home for Children does have house parents, and so sometimes that can be an alternative to a family home, and going into that type of more, whether you call it group home or something like that, where you do have house parents. So that can be a final place for children until they are 18. So there is somewhat of a continuum, which is good. And so we're all in touch with each other whenever we think that we have a child or a sibling group that may need the other services.
Yeah, you got to have a robust network.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
constant
you can't
communication.
do it by yourself.
Yeah.
There's
constant
too many.
communication. Well, let's move into the foster care program, because you're talking now. There's you say is it a federal law, state law, just in regards to trying to put kids in a more permanent situation as opposed to the shelter?
Right. That's federal.
That's federal. So that's where the need for foster parents has grown. And I know we did an event at the Civic Center not too long ago, and we honored one of those foster parents for, I think like 30 or 40 kids or something that they'd fostered over the years, which was really, really amazing. But talk a little bit about that program, and if people are interested, how they can get more information and get involved.
Sure. Well, the main thing that I see that I love so much about the foster care program at Childhaven is it does have a treatment component. So the children do have to qualify. It is paid for by Medicaid, and it is based on medical necessities. So that could be from the anxiety or depression, post-traumatic stress disorder that the children may be experiencing from their past traumas and abuse. So the children that we see typically may come in through the shelter. They may also come in from other parts of the Four Corners area. And we get them assessed through our therapy department and find out what's their history is and what the mental health areas are, and then we can request that stay. And it's amazing to see the children after they've been in these foster homes for a couple months. The typical stay is probably 8 months to some stay over a year, just really depending on sort of the length of their say maltreatment and what it's the effects that it has had on them. And so really trying to change those maladaptive behaviors that they have takes time and patience and just loving care of the foster parents, to just nurture them, and that is one of the trainings that we get trained on, is the nurtured heart approach. And so it's also a process where we don't just take our parenting style that we were raised on. Sometimes there's problems with that, and so we've all had to learn to make changes just like the kids do. And so it's something that we keep working on and training on, and it's amazing to see the kids working on their, we call them the treatment plan, that they have monthly meetings with everyone involved in their case. And the foster parents are the main bearers of trying to teach the children the coping skills and the ways that they can hopefully have better behaviors to be able to be more successful in school and sports and just whatever it is that they're wanting to pursue. And so that's where we've seen, I think, the most marked change in those behaviors. And that's when I feel like the children are better prepared to go into a regular, normal foster home or a permanent placement with their aunt or extended family members. And I think it'll be more successful if they've done this program prior, because they've now got the tools and skills to be able to be more successful. Otherwise, the poor foster parents are just kind of pulling out their hair without enough tools to be able to handle these very challenging behaviors.
Sure.
And we do, we help, we're recruiting foster parents right now, so we desperately need more foster parents. But we provide everything that people need as far as training goes. We help them with the licensing process. We, give them all the tools that they need to be successful as foster parents, and there's an entire team of people who are helping them. We have the regular treatment team meetings, as Erin mentioned. We have social workers. We have the CASA volunteers that are also helping out. So it's really something that foster parents, like a lot of them will start out and say, I don't think I can do this. And we say, yes, you absolutely can. I also hear a lot of people, whenever you say, hey, have you thought about becoming a foster parent? They say, I couldn't give the child up. After living with the child for so long, it would be heartbreaking. But if you ask any of our foster parents, they are just so proud at the progress that the children have made. And of course, there are a lot of tears whenever the child moves on to a new placement. But they have, some of our foster parents have pictures all over their walls of all of the kids that they've fostered, and they keep in contact, especially whenever the children are adults. So it's a very, very rewarding position. And all of our foster parents work as contractors for Childhaven, so they are compensated on a per night basis.
Really? I was wondering about that.
Yes.
When my parents were foster parents, I just remember that we used to go to the Adams County Fairgrounds in up in North Glen, Colorado, to go pick up food. I mean, they would just have these huge food drives, and we would come and they would just load us up with, by the way, terrible food. I mean, very sugar-filled everything.
Right.
But is that something, too? Is there food provided, or is it just compensation through money?
They actually receive two sort of funding streams. And so with the state of New Mexico, they have what are called maintenance dollars, which are the daily kind of food and clothing, the basic essentials. And so they have that funding that comes through Childhaven, and 100% of it goes right to the parents. And then for the other compensation that they receive is for their work, because we see it as a job. Sometimes kids might be up sick, having the flu, and they're on 24/7 helping to be that caring person for them. So we see that as a profession, and it is just amazing to see the good that caring individuals can do with these kids.
What type of vetting process is there? What qualifications for somebody to be a foster parent? I imagine there's some minimum requirements.
Sure.
What does that look like?
Well, the educational requirements are not not high, so it's very open in that regard, which I think is nice. So it's not a minimum educational requirement of even your high school diploma. So really anybody that has raised children, sometimes school teachers are a great match for this, retired folks. And just really the background check is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be very thorough.
It is,
Yeah.
and it is with all of our Childhaven staff as well as
yeah.
our contractors. Foster parents are considered contractors with us. And so it is a rather rigorous process. We do local checks with law enforcement, run the background checks there, drivers, driving records. The background check also goes to the CYFD offices to run the child abuse and neglect check. And
But
then,
you
of
could be a
course,
single individual and do this. You don't have to
Oh,
be
yes.
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
there's no particular family unit.
Female, male.
Yep,
Yeah.
gay couples, definitely. It is a whole variety of family types that can help raise our kids, and we are just open to meeting with people that have a desire that we can teach and hopefully get them to that level, like you're saying, Jennifer, where they feel comfortable. And when they're ready, that's when we'll start the first placement. We do have the ability, sometimes people like to start off sort of part-time and just do respite for the other foster families. So sometimes, typically once a month, we like our foster families to be able to take 1 to 2 days off and get a little R&R. So during that time, we have licensed other families that can just do that respite care.
Oh, interesting.
So
Is there a
that's
annual requirement for the education component, kind of like the CE that I have to do for my
Right.
licensing?
Exactly. So it's about 24 hours annually.
Okay.
But initially, to become a treatment foster family, it's 40 hours, and that's for each individual. That would be an adult in the home that would be the main caregiver.
I
So
imagine that'd be all online. Or is there an
it
in-class
cannot
component?
be because it is paid for by Medicaid. So of course they have to have their special rules.
Okay.
But so we do have some in-person
Okay.
trainings as well. We do train on crisis prevention intervention. So that's really how to talk down a situation and de-escalate it first. Probably a lot like the law enforcement training of how to really not come into conflict and how to resolve it more.
I think that a lot of parents need that. I mean, just in general, it would be great to have that kind of training.
No, it's wonderful. It helps us not only working with our clients, but also just working with each other, because
Right.
sometimes we don't all see eye to eye with our office mates and people that we work with. So it's important to be respectful and learn how to use your words and not push other people's buttons, let's say.
Right.
So there's that crisis prevention training that is about 8 hours. Of course, the first aid CPR, and then the nurtured heart approach is changing kind of the way that we talk with kids, and that takes a while to. You go to about a 6-hour class, but then it's really over the course of the first year, I feel like it took me anyway, to be able to just be more nurturing and understanding that the children are coming from a place of fear sometimes when they're first in care.
Right.
And sometimes that fear never goes away because they've had too many years of just upheaval and constant issues popping up. So they're more in that fight or flight mode all the time. And so we have to be very cognizant of that and realize how our words can really escalate situations. So it's not always the kid It's sometimes it's us. So let's take a
Oh,
look
yeah.
in the mirror and figure out what it is that we might be doing wrong or might be doing that provokes this type of behavior.
Parenting's challenging enough, and then you're parenting other people's kids who you didn't raise, and so you're coming into some whole brand new situations that definitely patience is a virtue, and the ability to take a breath and refocus. Okay, what is my purpose here? What am I really trying to do? But training. We were actually talking before the show about the movie Parenthood. I don't know if you recall that movie with Steve Martin back in the late 80s, but there's a part of it where one of the characters says, they'll give you a license to drive, but they won't give you a license to be a father or a mother, And some of this training sounds like it would be a great thing for anybody coming into this new role. I don't know if there's enough of that out there, to be honest, but I'm glad to hear that it's a good component of this. So for individuals who would like to get into the foster care program, learn more about it, I imagine Childhaven has plenty of information on their website. Would that be the best place, or coming in and talking to you all in person? What would you recommend?
Sure.
Any of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
And certainly our main number at Childhaven is 505-325-5358. The foster care department is extension 150, and that's a way to get started. As well, Jennifer, with our promotions, has been working on once a month open houses. So do you want to
good.
talk about that?
We're in the process of scheduling the next foster care information session, but our building is at 814 West Apache, and anyone who would like to come in during business hours, our foster care recruiter is ready to talk to people about becoming a foster parent.
Great. And we've got the Farmington Police Department's Night Out on October 7th, which will be downtown, and I believe you all will be there at a booth. So
We will.
if people want to come out, it's a great event. There'll be food and all sorts of fun things, but it'll be a good opportunity for folks to learn more, not just about Childhaven. There's going to be a lot of our social service groups represented there also who are engaged in many of these things. I want to move into the Child Advocacy Center and then into CASA. What is the CAC?
Sure. Well, that's a program that works with all the investigators on those cases of child abuse. So law enforcement, child protective services, medical with the sexual assault nurse examiner program, and the district attorney's office. It's a way to bring all of those professionals together to hopefully only have one forensic interview per child. This would be an investigative interview by a trained professional that knows children, knows developmental levels of the child, to be able to hopefully make them feel comfortable enough to tell on tape what has happened to them, so that hopefully that case can be stronger, both for the law enforcement criminal case as well as the social services custody case to figure out who they can be safe with. So this service also has a family advocacy component to it. Our advocates are trained how to work with these families that have suffered abuse, sometimes domestic violence. Sometimes there may be one or two children that may have been the victim of the abuse. Others may have just been witnesses, but that can affect them emotionally, sometimes just as much, because they have those feelings of helplessness. And so we have our licensed therapists also that are up at the Children's Advocacy Center. And so we can either get them in right away with a crisis appointment or just get them into regular therapy with those therapists that are trained in more trauma-informed, evidence-based modalities that hopefully along the course of several months they can work through what has happened and hopefully get them feeling stronger. It is also an advocacy area for the non-offending parents as well, and so they can seek the help of the advocates and therapists. Oftentimes, especially if it's an in-home abuse situation and the perpetrator doesn't leave the home, then the entire family has to decide if they're going to leave the home.
Sure.
And so as of, as that forensic interview concludes that day, the team is working right then and there to figure out next steps, where they're going to live, and what emergency funding they need. So we're working with all of our community partners to try to make a really hard situation the best that it can be.
Are there other, so if somebody was interested in, are there other clinical and therapeutic services that you offer outside of that? Just if a person was like, hey, I need help.
Yes, we do not, we're not up on taking all the different private insurances.
Okay.
We are primarily Medicaid funded,
All right.
as well as we have monies through the state of New Mexico for people that may not qualify for Medicaid, but more of a high need without the resources. And so that's kind of our top clientele. We are looking for another therapist. Right now we have one full-time and one 20-hour therapist, and so they typically are doing the after-school hours, so up until 7 p.m. we stay open so that we're able to see children and families after 5, and those are kind of the most coveted appointments, of course.
Sure.
Kind of the 5 to 7. We're able to do telehealth if people are comfortable with that. We can utilize technology to do the therapy as well. But with the smaller children, it's a lot more tactile. We have some people trained in sand tray therapy, art and play therapy, and so sometimes that's a little bit easier. There are technologies that we have to do that online, but it is somewhat easier if
In person, yeah.
in person.
Sure. Very interesting. CASA.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. CASA volunteer, Jennifer Gray.
Yes. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. So we work with children who are in the foster system. I like to think of it as a CASA volunteer, I'm the eyes and the ears for the court. So I report back to the judge and tell the judge what's going on in the case. Our volunteers can volunteer up to 10 hours, 10 hours a month is generally what we ask for, but people can make it into more than that. I mean, I attend treatment team meetings, I visit with the kids at least once a month, sometimes there's phone calls too. You can go to IEP meetings, you can go to parent-teacher conferences. Every time there is court, I write a court report, and that fills the judge in on everything that's happened since the last time we were in court. And sometimes it's just, little things of the child is, looking to go to a school dance. Is there anything that we can do
Right.
to find a dress, to find makeup, earrings, get her hair done, to go to this homecoming event or something like that. Other times I'm noticing that a child might need more help in a specific area. Perhaps it's speech pathology. And say, can we get an evaluation for speech pathology? So the judge reads my report and then makes decisions and recommendations, and sometimes those are court orders saying this child needs to be assessed for speech therapy needs. We know in the foster system, a lot of the times the children have to move in multiple placements. Sometimes it's to a relative's home, sometimes it's to the shelter, it's to foster care, it's to another foster care. So throughout all that instability, I'm the person who meets with them no matter where they are, no matter where they go. I'm that constant presence in their life. And, it's difficult at first because the children are quite traumatized and they suddenly have a lot of new people, in their lives. But you start to see their smiles whenever you keep appearing for them. And throughout time, you start to see the changes in their behaviors, in their social skills. You know, whenever you walk in and you say, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And they turn around to you and say, "I'm good. How are you?" I mean, that's just an amazing feeling.
Reciprocating that.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a small thing, but that is a big thing.
It is. It is.
For real.
Yeah. And you see them start to start eating healthy, and you see the changes in their physical appearance, you know, more smiles on their faces, the posture,
self-confidence.
You know? Absolutely. Yeah, they're feeling more secure.
It's so important to have people, adults in kids' lives that are giving them that type of mentoring and support. We've always believed that idea of if you've got two solid people in somebody's life, whether it's a teacher, a coach, a pastor, somebody, if a parent's not filling that role, if somebody else is there and they're filling that role and they're inspiring that child, they're much more likely to go off in life and be successful. So this sounds like a program that's perfectly designed to try and provide that. Does CASA, so I'm just thinking it's almost like a big brother, big sister thing to me to some degree, but it's a court thing, obviously.
Right, it's court appointed, and with big brothers and big sisters, they go and they take the kids and they take them out for activities.
Right.
We don't do that. We do go into either the shelter or the foster home or the relative's home, and we meet with them there. Yeah.
So they both do have a mentorship component.
Sure.
And I think Big Brother, Big Sisters is probably the primary mentorship program in the county. And but this one's just a little bit different, more focused on being the eyes and ears, as Jennifer said, to be able to really express to the judge what we think is in the best interest of the child. So after a number of court reports and hearings, there comes a final date, whether that's at a year mark. Sometimes some of the cases take 2 years to finalize, sometimes longer. But at that point, we are giving a final recommendation to the judge of what we think should happen. Should the parental rights be terminated and the child freed up for adoption, or should the child be returned home? And that's a major, huge decision. Judges don't take that lightly, and they feel very nervous making that decision. So across the country, CASA is a national program, and judges really look to the CASA volunteers to help them feel more confident that they're making the right choice. And I would say, I think we've hit about 95% of our recommendations, typically each year, that we make to the judge, they have implemented,
very Very important.
So I think that just shows the outcome of the hard work that the volunteers do.
And their credibility.
Right. And our goal is always reunification with the parents. So throughout the process, we do contact the parents. We support them, you know, whatever they need. Sometimes the parents don't have a positive influence in their own lives. We've heard some parents that say that they don't have anyone else who is sober in their family. So we can be that source of support and give them that encouragement to follow whatever plan CYFD is requiring them to do to get custody of their children again. So we're really working on both sides. Some cases do end in termination of parental rights. Some end up in guardianship, where maybe a fictive kin or a relative or someone does take guardianship of the children, and then oftentimes the parents receive, you know, visitation rights and things like that. So we do make those recommendations sometimes.
Really important role.
And we are actively recruiting volunteers.
That was my next question, so I'm glad you went there.
Yeah.
We're holding information sessions once per month. Our next information session is on August 12th at 5:30 p.m. at our foster care building at 814 West Apache. And we hold those sessions on the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay. So this will air after that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're on the 18th of August.
Well, the
surprise, we're recording early. So the next one's September.
The next month. That's right, second Tuesday.
So that's great. But every month on the second Tuesday.
That's right.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great program. I mean, everything we've talked about here is, honestly, I've learned a ton. I mean, and you both are great advocates for this program, obviously. Erin, we talk all day long. But we can't do this without money. That's really the bottom line. We know there's federal funding involved, state funding involved, but private donors are very important to this program. And I want to make sure people know, after hearing everything that you're doing and the details of each of these kind of programs, how can they support you the best?
Sure. We have people that give of their time. The Martin Luther Day
A service?
King's Service Day is a big one, so people can try to volunteer if they have the certain days off when there are those community events. We try to keep everything not looking shabby, so we're always trying to clean our grounds as well as the interiors of our building, painting projects, cleaning our vans, just trying to do that extra TLC.
Leadership San Juan groups have also volunteered to do that also.
Right.
Yeah.
So the community is strong and really comes to our aid, and that's Jennifer's one of her side jobs is to just keep those volunteer activities going as people or as groups. Sometimes there's youth groups with different churches that want to have a project, and so we'll figure something out that they can do. So it kind of starts sometimes at the ground level there. Then people might see that, oh yeah, the kids like to go to the movies, so they might donate some movie gift cards or other gift cards around town with, say, like Starbucks, so that they can go out for a special treat. And we do just do 2 main fundraisers per year. And with those, our Pledge for Children, we send out personalized letters. And then we recently just had our United for Children campaign. And those are our 2 main ways that we're out asking the community for monetary support. But there are a wide variety of ways that people give. Monthly giving is one way that doesn't take a big hit to the pocketbook. It is something that you can set up online or just through checks. And we are open to just really figuring out with people what it is that they want to give to the community and how we can fit that best and make that a possibility. So typically, though, it does start with people just being interested in helping the kids.
Yeah.
And so we do have pretty tight confidentiality considerations, and we can't start super young. Working with, say, high school students is mainly in those kind of group projects, more that than the one-on-one at this point with the children. But we hope that in the future, as kids are over 20 is the age that people can start working for Childhaven, just because we want them to be a few years older than the oldest children that we serve.
Yeah. And we have an amazing community here. The number of donations of clothing that we receive, I'll just say that we have a warehouse that is at capacity right now. So we do encourage people, if they have used clothing, to give them to other locations right now. And we'll let everybody know whenever we're ready to accept again. I mean, we don't want everything sitting in our warehouse when there are other people in the community that need them. We are accepting for our Children's Advisory Center, our Advocacy Center. We, when children come in to do a forensic interview, we like to give them a blanket so that they feel safe, so that they're secure, cuddly, and then they can take it home with them. So we are looking for blankets that have been crocheted or knitted or, just something unique. We let them pick one out. We are low in supply on those.
Good. So there's an opportunity.
There you go.
Yeah, we got a lot of quilters and crocheters here in town.
Oh, yes.
I mean, downtown's full of them.
Right. Just
awesome stuff.
Small-sized items, lap quilts or Afghans for children and teens.
They've been donors to us over the years.
Awesome.
Yeah, they've been great. We're also always accepting suitcases and duffel bags and things, because when the children come in, sometimes their items are literally in a trash bag. So we'll take those, suitcases that are still in good condition and let them take those, their belongings, to their next placement.
And I've donated food in the past as well. Is that something that's, I mean, it's a,
Oh, yes.
depending on the need, but I mean, I think we've brought, a few times we've brought some food down.
Oh, definitely. So oftentimes when people may put on a function and not as many people show up, or you have an overage, we're able to serve that. Right now we've been without a cook. We just hired one, and we're
Okay.
very excited. He'll be starting in about, I think, the next month. So the staff themselves have been doing double duty. So those donations come in quite handy.
Great.
Definitely. So
Good to
we're
know.
able to just serve them up, and we've got 24-hour shifts. So we've got the night shift. We eat on shift, so we don't get a lunch break when we're in the
Gotcha.
shelter as a worker. So we've got lots of mouths to feed. So we love the ready-made things.
Yeah. Lots of tacos, lots of barbecue.
Yep,
Yeah,
lots of hot dogs and
bring a
hamburgers.
lot of that
Oh, yeah.
over, for sure.
We eat them.
Well, this has been a very eye-opening conversation, and I hope folks have grown a new appreciation for all that Childhaven does, because it is a lot more than just an emergency shelter. You're impacting our community in a very, in very traumatic times for these kids in a very positive way. So thank both of you and our volunteers who have given of themselves to make this successful. I mean, it's been going on since 1969. That's a pretty incredible legacy. So before we close it out, is there anything you would like to kind of finish on? We'll start with you, Erin.
Just if people have ever thought about becoming a foster parent and have that in the back of their mind and just want to talk with somebody, it would be great if they would reach out, and our foster parent recruiter would be happy to kind of walk them through what the process looks like and see if that's something that would fit.
Sure.
If that level of commitment is too high, which is understandable, it doesn't work for every person, every family, every home. Look at the volunteering. As a CASA volunteer, it's probably one of the most impactful roles that I know of for volunteerism. So, and if you don't have that level of commitment, certainly those volunteer days are great.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Jennifer.
We will be doing a 9/11 day of service too.
Okay.
So if anybody would like to do any volunteer work, they can let us know, and that would be wonderful. And I'll just echo what Erin said. Being a CASA volunteer, it's just absolutely life-changing, and it's a really, really amazing feeling to see the changes that you've made in a child's life. So I encourage everyone to look into that and also consider becoming a foster parent.
Absolutely. Very challenging opportunities is what they are, but they have to be very fulfilling.
Rewarding. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who believes that service is the key to life, I always think that's where everything comes back around. And if you're involved in that cycle, you typically get a lot more out of life because you're giving more than you're taking. So thank you both for serving in that capacity and for your dedication in making sure these kids have an opportunity to have a solid person in their lives. Thanks for being here today. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you learned a lot and have maybe taken this to heart. And if this is something that hits you in a way that makes you want to act, Childhaven has those opportunities for you. Reach out to them. We talked about the phone number, but they will be out at the Farmington Police Department's Night Out downtown on October 7th. So take the time to come and stop by the booth. Learn more. You don't know what you don't know, and so tell you seek it out. So thank you all for joining us here today. We appreciate your viewership and your listenership here on the Mayor's Table. We'll see you next time.